got a good Ashton and Karen vibe going here, so that'll.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and kick this off. Everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Ashton Moran, the General Manager of the Executive Search Technology Practice here at Bullhorn. And on behalf of all of us here, I want to thank you for joining us for the third annual Executive Search Summit. Um, in previous years, we did things a little bit differently. We did half-day segments to present you all with industry information, with product information as well. But we do appreciate that there is real webinar fatigue out there. So we decided to do the sessions in chunks instead, 45-minute chunks, to be able to give you an idea of what's happening in the space, which we're joined by Karen Greenbaum, CEO of the AESC, to help us understand really what's happening in the market, and will serve as a great benchmark for all the businesses out there. I'd also like to say that Karen is bringing a really cool engagement platform during her session. So if you don't have your phones around you, go ahead and scramble, find those phones, because there'll be a QR code for you to participate and share, some of the insight that you're experiencing or that you have as your business is going through this really interesting time as well. A couple of other things that I like to mention before I hand over the microphone to Karen, which I know is the reason why y'all have come out. First off, housekeeping. These sessions, this session will be recorded. So if you have any, if you miss any part of this session, any part of the content, or if you weren't able to join today, or your colleagues weren't able to join, it will be recorded and shared in 24 hours. You can also participate through the chat and through the questions. Karen will be taking questions as we go along. I think the chat's disabled, and that was an accident. Sorry about that, but you can certainly respond in the Q&A and provide, your insight, your questions. We'd love to see that kind of engagement going on. Also, want to give a quick shout out to Ben Kaywood at Sourcewell, which is a technology that helps with business development and search, allowing teams to engage better on platforms like LinkedIn. And Richard Harrison, and that name may sound familiar to some of you. He's former Invenius's Chief Technology Officer, Chief Product Officer, and co-founder. And now he's focused on transforming the candidate experience and driving operational efficiencies in those businesses. Both of those partners have strategically joined the Invenius mission, and we'll be telling you a bit about the technologies that they provide at the end of the session in 60-second pitches. But now, without further ado, for the next 35 minutes or so, I present to you Karen Greenbaum, who, again, you all have been waiting for, to offer insight into what's happening across the industry in these very exciting times. Karen, over to you, my friend.
Alrighty. So I'll do a screen share, and unless we can get the chat re-enabled, people will have to put comments in the Q&A, which Ashton's going to monitor. But I think the Q&A, people can't see what anyone else is putting in there. So we will sit as it is. I am going to screen share, and hopefully I encourage you to ask questions throughout. That'll make it more fun and more interesting for me and for all of you as well. And so without any further ado, let's get on with the show. I am already having a little glitch here, which is that my screen is so big that I can't do the advance. So let me, I'm going to figure that out in just a second.
Absolutely.
All right, I got it solved. Great. All righty. So this is my one slide AESC. Oh, chat is working. I see a blip up there. That's good news. I don't see what it's
wonderful.
Saying. I asked him, but it looks like it's working.
It is all good.
Yes.
So everybody, feel free to enter some commentary in the chat. Thank you for enabling that, Jocelyn.
Right now. So as I talk about AESC, if you're an AESC member, say something nice about us in the chat. AESC was founded in 1959. I'm expecting lots of comments coming up in the chat. I don't see any yet. We set the standards for the profession. our members share a commitment to quality. So what's really interesting about AESC is all of the members compete in the marketplace, but we collaborate for the good of the profession, and we're very proud of that. So if you're a member, do a chat, and we're going to get on with the show. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the profession by the numbers. These numbers are focused on 2022, but we're going to actually begin by getting input from you. So there is a QR code on the screen. Hopefully everyone knows how to use a QR code. Scan the QR code and it should pop up to Mentimeter. You'll see pretty much a black screen on your phone. Use your phone. If the QR code is just not working for you, type in www.menti.com and enter the code 66828384. If you are in, put it in the chat. Ashton will monitor that and see some numbers, people pop up that they work, they're in, and that will mean we can move on to the next slide. So I don't see a lot of things changing on it, so I'm going to give it a minute for people to start to log in, because this is key to having some fun and getting input from the audience. So Ashton, how is it looking? I see a couple of numbers pop up, but I'm not watching what they're saying.
It's all good. Everyone is just saying thank you for putting this conference on, and they're just confirming that they're in. So it's great.
So I'm going to assume if a couple people are in, everyone is in. You'll see when we go into Mentimeter that there will be an opportunity. In case you weren't in, you'll say, oh my God, what was the code? It'll be on every slide, so you'll see that. So let's just do one. So what was the growth in 2022? Let me remind you, this is anonymous. I have no way of knowing who you are or who responded. So you might as well tell the truth. I can't track you down. So in 2022, what was your growth? Was it up? How much? And we'll go to the next slide. Was it down? Were you flat? So we're going to watch the bouncing balls. And we've got well over 100 people. So we should start seeing lots of balls bouncing, showing that everyone is participating. So we're at 1522. Let's keep going. I'm sure we have people from around the globe, and that has an influence on whether you were up or down, but it also, it depends on what your industry focus is, what your market is. So there's a lot of different factors here. We're at 40 so far. I hope we can get much closer to 100. Let's see if the numbers go up a bit. And again, if you hopefully you're able to get in. Again, the numbers are moving around a little bit, and hopefully you'll get on with the program. And again, Ashton, monitor the chats in case someone's stuck and they don't know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So we seem to have been slowing down at 45, which is not anywhere near as many as the attendees, but I'm going to declare victory, and hopefully as we go through, more people will be comfortable sharing. So the overall, as you can see, is the majority of those in responding were up 10% or more. Second highest number is flat. Again, this is for 2022. Remember that 2021 was an extraordinary year. So flat against a really big year is still really good news. There are some that declined, and in fact, 5 that declined 10% or more. So a pretty big decline in 2022, again, against usually, for most people, a very, very strong 2021. So we're at about 50. We'll have other votes throughout. So if you didn't get in this time, maybe you'll be able to log in for the next time. And so that's where they were. So let's just see what we say the results were. And so if you look at this, it shows, just as a refresher, 2020, everyone remembers that year. We call that the COVID year. And so the second quarter of 2020, everything's froze. Clients didn't know what to do. Frankly, we didn't even know what to do because we were all facing a global pandemic together. So things dropped in second quarter. They actually went steadily up. 2021 was insanely busy for most firms. We estimate a growth of 42%. Around the world. Those are averages. Remember, if you weren't up that year, it's an average. So that means some were up more, some were up less, but it was an extraordinary year. And that's growth over 2021, 42%. But even if you look at growth over 2019, you can still see the growth was amazing. In 2022, we estimate the growth as 6%. Some of you said you had 10% or more. Others said you were actually down. But if you were down, unless you were down like 42%, you were still up against 2020 and probably still up against 2019. So it was a really, really good year. And in fact, Both 2021 and 2022 found people with way too much work to do and trying to figure out how to get it all done. So enough about 2022. We're almost done with 2023, so we might as well move on to this year. So 2023 results, this is what we know so far. First, I'm going to ask you a question, which is, what does your trend line look like for 2023? So let me explain this, and then I'll go on to the voting. So if you started January 1 and you go to now, is it a straight line up? Is it a straight line down? Is it flat? Or did it go a bit up and down? So tell me the pattern of your trend for this year, starting with from Q1 to Q2 to Q3. So we've got some people voting. And we have a little bit of every picture. Let's keep it going let's try to get to at least 50, which is what we had last time. And you can see that we've got some trending up, some trending down, some up and down. So the market is, it's just not fully consistent. Again, we're getting close to that 50 number, although we have well over 100 people on the call. Let's just see how we're doing here. So I would say at this point, the majority are up and down. So my wish for you is that you end up, not down. But we have trending up, trending down, flat, and flat against last year is really good news because last year was pretty good. Now, some of you were down last year, but still I would call flat sort of victory when you look at what 2021 was like. So trending up, trending down, flat, and up and down. So we do collect quarterly data, but just from 4 firms. And so I'll give you a picture of that. I call these the Shirks, not the Shreks. And they're the Shirks, not the Shreks, because we don't have the E. So we don't have data from Egon Zehnder, but we do have data from Spencer, Heidrick, Russell, and Korn Ferry. And this shows you a picture of what each quarter was like starting in 2020. So we have symbols as well as colors for those who aren't good with colors, but the purple line at the bottom, which has an octagon on it, was 2020. So you can see in Q2 it went down, and then it started slowly going up in Q3 and Q4. Then you get to 2021, and if you follow the bouncing ball of the fourth quarter purple to the first quarter green, you can see it was higher in the first quarter, and then it went up and up and up in 2021. In 2022, it's the blue line with the squares, and 2022 started a little bit up against fourth quarter, and then it went up a little bit more, and then it went down in the third quarter of 2022 and down in the fourth quarter of 2022. And then in 2023, it went up slightly from that low point. And again, that's not where they ended the whole year. It's a quarter by quarter picture. And so you can see it was steadily down. And then if you were connecting the lines, you can see Q1 went up a little bit. Q2 went up a little bit more. And I say if we get one more dot going up more, it starts to look like a smile, which is what I would like to see, is that smile. So you can see that from the Shirks, not the Shreks, they were down at the second half of 2022 and went up at a modest rate in 2023 against that low point of the second half of the year. And so I know Ashton's going to be monitoring questions as we go through what's happening with 2020 with the third quarter. It just ended, so I don't have the data yet. I would say anecdotally, it looks like it's probably going to be up a little bit, but we're hearing, like you, that there's a lot of up and down still, and there's tightening of belts, both from a client perspective as well as from a search firm perspective. And so there's some caution, but I think there's also some optimism about 2024. So we'll see how that works out. So again, we're going to look at Mentimeter and talk about challenges. So one thing I would say is the greatest external challenge, and this was when we did the survey, but it's still the greatest external challenge. We, by the way, do a client survey every year. Our 2023 client survey will be launched at our London conference in November. But I can tell you that uncertainty is still a big issue. And what kind of uncertainty? Everything: geopolitical, economic, war, climate change, global slowdown, supply chain disruption, and so much more. So what do I know for sure about this? And that is that there's nothing you can do about it. there's no one on this call that can change any of these dramatically. This is the world we're living in. And so what you can do is think about how you deal with these challenges. But I don't think there's any point in dwelling on them, because I don't know that there's any easy fixes here. So, so what we really want to talk about is how does this challenge our profession? So again, we'll go to Mentimeter, and this time you get to choose your top 3. So hiring slowdown. What are your biggest challenges? A hiring slowdown from a client perspective, fee pressures from the market, your own digital transformation, your own diversification of businesses. Are you executive search only? Are you expanding into assessment and leadership and that sort of thing? Are you challenged with the need to create client value? Are you facing unhealthy competitor practices that make your job more difficult? Is it a shortage of desired talent? So it's hard to find the right people. Is it a candidate market, meaning they really control the shots? And so you have that unique challenge of, maybe they're talking to a few different firms. Maybe they want to, have very strong views on what they want and what they don't want. Tougher negotiations. Is it that we as a profession are viewed as transactional? By the way, I always call us a profession. Some people call us an industry. I think the profession is what each of us are individually. We are professionals. And the industry is this business that we're in. And so it's not that one is right or one is wrong, but I like to think of us as a profession. And then finally, increased competition. So and again, you can choose your top 3. We're at about 40. You can see everything got a vote. And so let's just see a little bit more, and we'll see the highest one is a hiring slowdown. So our clients are slowing down their hiring. That was that tightening of the belts thing that we were talking about. The second one is increased competition, and the third is fee pressures. Those fee pressures are both from the client and from that increased competition, right? So so we've got, again, everything got some votes, and so you can see that there are some challenges. But again, we'll be focusing not only on challenges, but opportunities. So,
Karen, how do you see this? How do you see this data translating into particular industries that some executive search practitioners may be delivering their work in?
So I think that's a great question, and there's definitely a very big difference industry to industry in terms of, so I'll give you an example. Life sciences was the darling for several years, and then it dried up a bit with PE, private equity and venture capital investment. And so now it's developing, but in a different way. And so it's an example of where if your focus is exclusively life sciences, just as an example, then you're going to be riding an up when it's going really well. And then when it's impacted by things such as private equity investment, then it's going to go down. And that's where that diversification comes in, because diversification isn't just about different services, it's about different industries. Technology, right. Interesting one, because there's been a lot of headcount, reductions in force in technology, but that doesn't mean in the technology sector. But that doesn't mean that they're not also hiring, and that there also aren't other organizations that are looking for technology people who came from that sector. So that they move in different ways. So it's a good question.
Thank you.
So the next question from a Mentimeter perspective is, what are the internal issues clients are discussing with you? So in other words, when you meet with clients, what do they want to talk about? And so we've got a number of choices here. Hopefully your favorite is here. You can choose 3, but do they talk to you about their need to attract top talent? They want to hire leaders who drive change. They're concerned about culture alignment. They want to prioritize DEI. I want to talk about that, developing the next generation of leaders, a need to retain top talent. So there's attracting, but there's also retaining, succession planning, a focus on sustainability, their whole challenge of how do we deal with virtual and hybrid and how that impacts talent, right? So, we want everyone to come back to work, but now they're all going to quit, or we can't attract the people we want. Or candidates say, I don't want to work full-time on location, but maybe some say that's my preference. So that dealing with virtual and hybrid, or their interest in becoming an employer of choice. Why? So that they can attract and retain top talent. So what are they talking to you about? We've got a lot of responses here. I'm bothered by the fact that retain top talent is red, as if it's bad. So ignore the color choices. They don't symbolize anything. It is just the randomly selected colors. So far, no one is talking about sustainability. I don't know where our audience is from, but I can tell you that we know that sustainability is a much bigger topic of conversation in Europe than in the United States, bigger in Europe and Asia than in the United States, as an example. And so let's see, we're at 40, maybe we can get a few more responses. And not surprisingly, the number one thing they're talking to you about is need to attract top talent. Why are they talking to you about that? Because you're executive search consultants. What else would they be talking to you about? So if they're not talking to you about attracting talent, there's something really wrong. So that is an obvious thing that they're talking to you about. But is that all? And so not that there's anything wrong with it. That's great. Of course, we want them talking to you about it. But are they also talking to you about what kind of talent? And so leaders that can drive change. Are they talking to you about what kind of talent in terms of diversity, but also diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't just about people you hire, but it's about your culture. It's about creating a culture of inclusion and belonging. And so that came up right now. As of now, it's 20. We have 44 people who have voted. And so need to attract top talent is number one, prioritize DEI is number two, hiring leaders to drive change, which we've been hearing a lot about, is now tied for second place. We still have some people voting. And then fourth place is dealing with virtual and hybrid, the what to do about virtual and hybrid and how that impacts candidate hiring and also retention. And so you can see everything but poor sustainability, everything but sustainability got a vote, and some more than others. Of course, when you have to only choose three, maybe sustainability is on the list, but it's number 7. And so, but in any case, so we've got attracting top talent, prioritizing DEI, and hiring leaders to drive change as tied, and then dealing with virtual and hybrid. And so I think some interesting responses. Obviously, retaining top talent is always important, because if you don't have the right culture, remember culture came up higher. And if you don't have an inclusive environment, maybe you hire people in the front door while they go out the back door. So that's not helping anybody. And so retaining top talent is important, but it is 1, 2, 3, 4, number 6 on the list. And so it is, again, we're tied with driving change and diversity, equity, inclusion. And so let's continue.
Yeah. And Karen, and I know you probably touched on this in the remainder of the session, but it's really interesting that diversification wasn't a challenge, and yet there are some opportunities here to deliver beyond an executive search and advise on a few areas like diversity, equity, and inclusion, and even cultural alignment.
I think it's because it's an opportunity, not a challenge.
Love that.
And so that was about what our challenge is, not what our opportunity. So let's just see whether we get there. So it's a smart question, and I might have a smart answer. Oh my goodness gracious, Ashton. How do we turn the challenges into opportunities? How is that a setup or what? Ashton, by the way, did not preview this presentation. So there you go. So now I'm going to talk about what are the greatest opportunities for our profession. And you notice number 4 is business diversification. And so let's take a vote on this. Again, choose 3. So what are the greatest opportunities? Having brand differentiation. So I can talk a little bit about that, right? If you aren't different, if everyone looks the same, how does the client decide? They pick the lowest price, right? So if everyone is the same, they're all identical, who's the cheapest? But so that's why brand differentiation is important. Value creation. Does the client say, you know, I like the extra value you provide? And is that the opportunity? Being a trusted advisor. Business diversification. That could be geography. It could be industry. It could be services. your own ability to attract and retain and develop your talent, leveraging artificial intelligence, a reputation for quality. By the way, a plug, if you're an AESC member, you have that reputation for quality. That was really terrible, wasn't it, Ashton? All right, I did it.
No, plug away. That's great.
Of needed talent for the clients. In other words, it's an opportunity. So we talked about a shortage of talent as a challenge, but it is also an opportunity, right? Why? Clients never hire us for the easy assignments. If it were easy, they would just do it themselves. So shortage of talent is actually, it's a challenge for us, but it is that challenge that makes it an opportunity. That's why they hire us. DEI is an opportunity. Oh, sustainability got a vote in opportunities. And so number one is to be a trusted advisor. Number two is a reputation for quality. Number three, tied, is value creation. This was actually a very popular question because we got to 51 responses out of 121, by the way. So a lot of people aren't voting, they're just observing. And so be a trusted advisor got even higher. That's really interesting. Leverage artificial intelligence is it's like fourth place. So it's be a trusted advisor, reputation for quality, value creation. Then it's business diversification. And then tied is brand differentiation and leverage artificial intelligence, and everything got a vote. So let's talk. Oh, I must have been psychic. I decided that the thing you were going to vote for is be a trusted advisor. Voila, I was right.
Crystal balls and all.
So anyway, yes. So I picked this as the number one because I thought should be number one. And you know what? You all agreed. So strengthening your client relationship by becoming a trusted advisor. And then just for fun, I thought I would ask ChatGPT, what is a trusted advisor? By the way, the first time I asked, I said 50 words. It was too long. So a trusted advisor is a reliable, knowledgeable, and ethical consultant or confidant who offers valuable guidance and solutions, fosters trust, and builds long-term relationships. That's perfect, isn't it? I love it. And so that's what we see as the number one thing, is getting to that point where is a trusted advisor viewed as a transactional advisor? No, you're no longer transactional. You're the person that they call and they say, hey, can we get together for a cup of coffee? I've got some business issues I'm really struggling with. I'd appreciate your guidance. It's not like you're billing them on an hourly basis and you're going to bill them for an hour for the coffee, but they see you as really knowing their organization and you are an advisor to them. So that is that unique, frankly, differentiated position. So number one, it means you're the top of the house advisor on complex business issues. It means you're no longer seen as, if I have a search assignment, I'm going to call you. If I don't, I'm not going to call you. You lead with value creation. You've talked about creating value. It is a competitive differentiator, right? If you're the trusted advisor and you're competing with a bunch of firms who have never met or never worked with this firm, you're going to have that inside advantage. You help clients transform because you understand their business issues. You're not advisory, and you actually can diversification because you have that bigger conversation. And they're talking to you about bigger, complex talent and leadership challenges. And so that's where you can start to figure out how you can help them more broadly.
And by the way, a quick plug for David Butter. That session's happening on the 23rd. And he partners really closely with the AESC as well. We managed to have him speak about transforming short-term transactional relationships into long-term partnerships, and being a trusted advisor is so key to doing that. So Karen, sorry, just had to plug David Butter into that. That's happening on Monday next week.
Because David Butter is someone that we partner with on AESC education programs. And so we have a lot of programs that we offer featuring David Butter focused on building client relationships. So let's talk about growth led by diversification. First of all, clients are much more open to working with the same firm for executive search and other leadership advisory services. It has significantly increased across the board. And so how do we know that? Because we ask. And so we've been doing this client research sorry, I'm going to minimize you so you're not covering my slides. We've been doing this client research for every 3 years. We ask clients about ourselves. And so we figured if we asked them every single year, they'd stop doing the survey, but every 3 years we do it. And so you can see here, I'll explain how to read the chart. So purple means they said, would you be open to using your search consulting firm for a broader range of services specifically? Purple means yes. Maybe means maybe, and that to me is a yes that just hasn't happened yet. And yellow is no, I would not do that. And so if you look at diversity and inclusion, you guys said that they're talking to you a lot about it. Look at the no's here. In 2019, 56% said I would not use my executive search firm for diversity and inclusion advisory services. Now 21% said no, a huge difference. Culture assessment and alignment, we talked about culture alignment. 49% said I wouldn't do it. Now it's 19%. I don't know if any of you are in the interim business, but 50% said no on interim, 15% said no now. And across the board, you can see just visually looking at the yellows dramatically reduced in every single category. So what does that mean? It means that clients are seeing us not just as a transactional search consultant, but as that broader trusted talent and leadership advisor. And so a talent and leadership advisor you turn to for a wide range of issues. And so you can see that in this research that we do. Diversification is not just services, like we just talked about it, but it's also geographic, its functions, its roles, its industries. But what I'd like to say is, whatever you do, remember clients expect deep management consulting level expertise. What do I mean by that? If they're going to hire you, let's say they want to hire a chief sustainability officer, and they call you up and say, what do you know about hiring chief sustainability officers? And you say, I don't really know anything. We've never done it before, but you know what? We're generalists and we can do that too. Or do you go in and say, well, let's have a meeting, let's talk about it. And either you are an expert or you become an expert before you get to that meeting. What's the trend? What are their backgrounds? What are their experiences? Where do they come from? What does the market look like? You have insight. And so that's why they hire you, because the internal talent acquisition team doesn't know anything about hiring a chief sustainability officer because they've never had one before. That's just a dramatic example. But diversification is not just services, it's lines of business, it's functions, it's industries, and it is bringing deep management consulting level expertise. We talked about that trusted advisor relationship and how you can stand out from your competitors. Quality first, of course, be a proud member of AESC. We set the standards for the profession, but value creation makes you stand out. Diversification makes you stand out. Differentiation, so you don't all look the same. Being innovative, and of course, that trusted advisor. These are all things that help you stand out from your competitors, and that helps you win. So consider how artificial intelligence supports human intelligence, a big topic of discussion. So of course I had to ask ChatGPT. I've only done this twice. So how does generative AI support human intelligence? I used 50 words this time, but it supports human intelligence by automating tasks, aiding in data analysis, sparking creativity, improving communication, enhancing personalization. So you can see a lot of different things. It accelerates innovation, streamlines workflows, offers new insights. It augments human capabilities. So any of you that think you're going to be replaced by artificial intelligence, I would suggest you are not doing your job right, and you are not a trusted advisor, because an AI cannot become a trusted advisor. I am going to do a little bit of a preview of our survey that we're releasing in November by starting with some questions we ask clients, and I'd like to hear your views. So what are the main risks associated with using AI? Choose 3. Biased outcome, job displacement, decision-making transparency, data privacy and security, decision-making ethics, legal and regulatory challenges, resistance to change, reputational risk, operational risk, and cybersecurity and clones. So what do you see are the biggest risks? And again, we're going to choose your top 3. So let's keep those coming in. It looks like number 1, a clear lead in number 1 is data privacy and security. We're still getting some responses coming in. Biased outcomes and legal and regulatory challenges are tied right now. And we're boosting up a little bit. I'm going to give it a couple, then maybe another minute or so, but right now we have data privacy and security is number one, biased outcomes is number two, legal and regulatory challenges is number three, but tied with cybersecurity. And so it looks like resistance to change is certainly always an issue in change. Reputational risk, lots of that going on in terms of, just sort of letting AI do the job and pretending it's you. All right, so we've got some interesting challenges. Let's see, I think, what the clients had to say. We've got a couple more votes coming in. I'll give it another second. I don't want to cut anyone short. 49, maybe one more. See if we can get to the magic 50. All right, so I'm going to call it. And here's what clients said. Their top three AI risks: data privacy and security, legal and regulatory challenges, and ethical considerations in AI decision-making. So we've got a lot more about all of this in our survey that we'll be launching. Here's the second question we ask clients. So let's hear from you. Again, this is what we ask clients. So you might say applicants. Well, we don't call them applicants. We call them candidates, whatever. This was for clients. So choose all that apply. So how are you currently using it? And think of applicants as candidates. Choose all that apply. Are you doing chatbots, speech recognition, transcription, translation, process automation, virtual assistants, data analysis? By the way, if you're doing nothing, just don't vote. Predictive modeling, applicant sourcing, applicant screening. So what are you currently doing in this space? All right. We're at 28. Let's see if we can get a few more in, but it looks like transcription, process automation, and data analysis are the current winners. Some of you may not be voting because you're not currently using AI, and that is fair enough. So let's just see if it moves much more. I'll give it a little bit of time just to see if it pops in. All right, transcription, process automation, data analysis are the current big winners. And so I'm going to call it. And here's what clients said. Number one, data analysis. Number two, process automation. And number three, chatbot. So watch for more insights for our client survey, dealing with times of uncertainty, external and internal factors, change readiness, key drivers for attraction and retention, DEI workforce engagement strategies that work, and more. So join us on November 7th in London. Here is our conference is November 7th. There's a QR code here. If you scan that, it'll take you to the registration page. I hope a number of you listening in will join us at the conference. We have an amazing set of speakers. You'll see that if you use the QR code, and I hope you'll join us. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to Ashton. He can tell you more about the conference. He'll be there.
Absolutely, I will be there.
And that is my last slide. So I'm going to stop sharing. And Ashton, were there any questions that we need to cover? Were they all handled?
We covered them on the fly, but this is a great opportunity. If in the next minute or two, the audience has any questions, we have industry maven Karen here to be able to respond to those, address those, and again, offer some even additional insight to what's happening in the space. So I'll give everybody just a few moments to gather their thoughts, start typing in some questions as well. Thank you all for coming out. Karen, that was very interesting.
All right, well, thank you. And I think we are done and over to your your final presenters.
Wonderful. Yes. So everyone, I see Susan just asked a question about printout of the survey results. Karen, is that something that can be shared with us?
There is a public version of last year's client survey. So if you are not an AESC member, there is a public version of the survey. You can go to our site to get it. If you are a member, then you can go to the member portal to get the in-depth report.
Wonderful.
Some of this came from the member survey itself, and that does not have a public version. And so it just depends on if you're a member or not. But again, if you're not a member, there is a public version. You can go to aesc.org, not .com, and you'll see that public version. And by
Wonderful.
the way, report, there's a lot more information. So I was told to do a half-an-hour presentation. I wanted to know, well, what about industry? What about this? And,
yeah.
Overview, and it's a 30-minute presentation. We have a lot more in the report.
Indeed, indeed. And thank you also for presenting the opportunities available to executive search consultants out there.
You know what, I was just looking at the question. Maybe they wanted to know if you would get a printout of the survey, of the Mentimeter survey results, in which case, yes, I can give you that as a PDF.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
But
Karen.
if that's what meant, we can do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we just have a couple of minutes remaining here before we let you all go. Again, just a quick plug. If you haven't done so, Monday, the 23rd, David Butter will be speaking on business development, forging some partner relationships that last a lifetime. Please register for that. It's going to be great. Make sure that your revenue generating folks come out to that. Now, I want to extend appreciation to our partners. Richard, over from Exeni, former CTO and of Invenius and co-founder. Rich, would you mind sharing with us what Exeni is doing and how you're helping some Invenius customers today?
Hey, Ash, and thanks very much for inviting us today. Yeah, absolutely. So it's really exciting to be here after many years back with the Search Summit and to address the customers that many of us have spoken to in the past. Exeni is a digital technology business focused entirely on executive search and staffing, and it's founded by myself and Alex Lee, who was the former engineering lead for Invenius, both pre and post acquisition by Bullhorn. Alex and I have come together really to bring our vision to life, which is to redefine the candidate experience in a single platform that incorporates every element of the candidate journey, built on top of Bullhorn products. So Bullhorn, Invenius for Bullhorn, etc. That platform covers everything from registrations to self-service through to data privacy, diversity, many of the topics that we've talked about today. In addition to that, we're focused on transforming search operations with the latest automation and integration technologies that really drive efficiencies in the business and reduce bottom line costs, which is obviously key on everybody's agenda. Some really cool projects that we're underway with at the moment with financial systems integrations, Microsoft Teams messaging, generative AI, lots of cool stuff that sits on top of Invenius that people can benefit from. That's pretty much it. A high-level overview. I appreciate it's only 60 seconds. We've got a webinar coming up on the 8th of November to explore our product and our innovation into technology for this industry. We'd love to invite everybody here today to join us. I know you guys are going to send out a link at the end of the webinar, or you can jump onto our website, exeni.com, and register today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard, for that. And
You're very welcome.
Wrap it up here with Ben. Sourcewell was our first Invenius marketplace partner, and we've seen a number of search firms really gain tremendous value from your technology. Can you share with us a bit about what Sourcewell does and how it supports the search space, in particular how it supports Invenius customers?
Yeah, sure. No, Ashton, thanks for having us along, and Karen, some really good insights there. I've been taking notes throughout, but yeah, essentially Sourcewell is a business development headhunting platform that helps solve 3 common challenges that we hear all of the time. Firstly, is businesses don't have enough client or candidate pipeline, mainly because consultants aren't calling enough or they're not following up enough, probably scrolling LinkedIn a little bit too much too. We essentially tell them who to call, when to call, so you have better calls, ensure they never forget to follow up, and so you don't miss any opportunities and you don't leave any money on the table. Secondly, consultants are, well, they're not potentially using Invenius as well as they should be, and are probably spending or potentially spending too much time updating it, we automate all of that for you. For example, updating assignments, progress notes, fit to profile, etc. This not only saves you a huge amount of time each week, but improves the data accuracy and therefore the use of Invenius over time. Lastly, leaders have probably bought a little bit too much tech in COVID, and a lot of that's probably not getting used. So a lot of them want to be able to get back to basics. And essentially, as an all-in-one tool, we ensure that consultants follow a consistent multi-channel, multi-step outreach process that books more meetings. It's really that simple: more channels, more steps, make sure the quality's there. And we then automate the admin so that you save time, provide each consultant with analytics on how they can actually improve individually. So in summary, not only do we integrate with Invenius, which is obviously an incredible thing, but we help consultants increase the engagement that they're getting with candidates and clients, book more meetings, drive higher revenue. I think that was 60 seconds.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you again for joining. I want to give a quick shout out to Jocelyn Caza, who's helped us. Actually, this is all possible because of you and the team behind you, Jocelyn. Thank you for making it so. Karen, that session was phenomenal. Everybody, remember, this was recorded. So if you missed it, any of your colleagues missed it, please feel free to tune in. You'll receive the recording in the next 24 to 48 hours. And remember to reach out to our partners, Richard at Exeni and Ben at Sourcewell. They unlock tremendous value for search firms as they stack their solutions on top of Invenius. Thank you all so much again for coming out. Look forward to seeing you again come Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll speak soon.